So they just released the names of the shooter of Alex Pretti, and I have so many thoughts as a Texas Latina who also happens to have family in the RGV area that understands the dynamics and politics of Texas. It was completely wrong what happened to Alex Pretti, but my biggest fear about this is that Latinos, specifically all the violence that has been inflicted in our community, as we have been pretty much the primary targets of ICE, and seeing how members of our community, specifically some of the men in our community, have been joining these freaking entities is embarrassing and is like disappointing. I hope this doesn't give people ammunition for them to continue to dehumanize our community. Because how many times have we heard people say, well, 43% of Latinos voted for Trump? So, because a certain percentage of Latinos, which by the way, half of our freaking community cannot even freaking vote because they're not documented, voted for Trump. So that means that people deserve to be dehumanized, murdered. They deserve to be in concentration camps. My biggest fear about this, that this is going to give people ammunition even more to dehumanize the Latino community, specifically Latino men, because they have been the biggest target. I'm also from Houston, where Jocelyn was murdered by the undocumented guys, and I saw the shift right away. The way people would express their xenophobia because at the justification of like these two guys who happen to be Venezuelan, who happen to be undocumented, murdering this young girl. I think it's very complicated. And if you live in Texas, you probably know the dynamics of being here in Texas, the fact that there's a lot of voter suppression, the fact that there is very normalized racism as well, the fact that a lot of the history of Tejanos has been suppressed for the longest. Tejanos were fighting for their civil rights. They fought in the premise that, hey, we are white, so we shouldn't be discriminated. California, on the other hand, they were like, you can't discriminate against us. It's wrong because we are people of color and we deserve equal rights. You see the two differences? One leaned into white supremacy, the other one did not. If you don't understand the historical context behind that, you're just going to automatically assume that every fucking person here in Texas is fucking ignorant as hell. No, it's a historical condition of colonization and white supremacy. A lot of people in fucking Texas have not undone that kind of rhetoric. On top of the fact that some people have had bad interactions with undocumented people as well. Let's get real. That's a real thing here. There's no perfect immigrant. I'll tell you that from left and right. So if the media is constantly perpetuating certain narratives that undocumented people are this, that a certain individuals behaved a certain way, there's a development of hatred. And that's exactly what happened. On top of the fact that if you live in a border town as well, your experience is a lot different versus me living in Houston. My dad's family still lives in Mission, Texas. They live in the border town as well. Their experience is significantly different versus my experience here living in Houston. My dad comes from like the cartel violence area. I hate to say this. If he wasn't educated, he would have probably bought into the sentiment that what ICE is doing is to protect us against dangers and like the cartel overall. So think about that. Because he's educated, so he's able to analyze that shit, critically thinking. I'm like, no, this is not right. But when you've endured violence, like I've had uncles being kidnapped, I've had cousins being kidnapped. Like fuck, you gain that resentment. There's a lot of trauma there. In the end, education is key. Everybody should read Defectors, The Rise of the Latino Alt-Right. The big bulk of that is, in fact, unresolved trauma that leads to ignorance. And that's it. I'm off my soapbox.